Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Welcome back to another magical readathon announcement. I'm so happy that you came back, or if this is your first one, hello. Back in April we had our O.W.L. exams as a readathon. If you want to know more about that part of this readathon, I will suggest the video somewhere here and I will link it down below for you to find. So if you want to know a little bit more about what this shebang is all about, it would be a good idea for you to go there and check that one first and then come back here to learn more about this part. So quite obviously this is a Harry Potter themed readathon. It consists of 2 parts and 2 types of exams that exist in the magical universe. The first one is O.W.L.s, which is an ordinary wizardry levels, and the next step in your Hogwarts careers is the nastily exhausting wizarding exams, which is what we are here for. If you missed out on the April's readathon or for some reason we're not able to participate, at the end of the day this is just for fun, so you can still participate. You would just choose your subject a little bit differently from the people who have sat their owls. And I'm happy to say that when I asked, you guys were so supportive of the idea of this being an annual thing. So we're gonna repeat all of this next year, but we're gonna go, or I'm gonna go full on extra, and next year I have a lot of things planned already, how things are gonna go, and this one obviously was the first time, so it was a bit finding our ground and stuff, but next year is gonna be a lot of details about various careers that you can pursue, so you can maybe pursue a different one each year, but we're not there yet and I'm equally as excited about this part. I will let you guys know what the selection process should be for these in a little bit. So nastily exhausting wizarding test, in short N.E.W.T., which is very confusing with N.E.W.T.s commander, but this has nothing to do with him, so you know. So first things first, let us go through this step by step. I was very excited to receive O.W.L.s post this morning. My colleagues at Hogwarts have finally sent me the letter explaining what the N.E.W.T.s this year are. So let me just get the letter real quick. I don't want to ruin the seal. And there we are. Are you ready for your N.E.W.T.s? So here's the letter with all of the details. I know that in some countries O.W.L. post is quite delayed because of the weather conditions, so in case yours is late, I will upload a digital version and I will link it down below in the description bar, and I will also put that up on our Twitter account so we can all share this information. But let's just get through what the letter actually said. Dear student, we are pleased to inform you that your application to proceed to N.E.W.T.s level has been granted. Please be warned that N.E.W.T. levels are significantly more challenging and should only be taken by those who are confident in their ability to keep a level head. Your exams will take place during the month of August. You will have 31 days to achieve the desired results in your selected magical disciplines. Current Hogwarts Achievement Standard policy states that students are expected to pass a minimum of 2 subjects of their choice and achieve an outstanding in at least 1. We must remind you that N.E.W.T. level examination is a personal choice towards your education and career after Hogwarts, and as such is not mandatory. Please find your exam schedule and targeted themes for each discipline attached. Good luck! Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress, on behalf of Headmaster Albus Dumbledore, and then a lot of Albus Dumbledore's titles. As I mentioned before, if you happen not to have sat your owls, there's 2 choices for you. You can either sit your N.E.W.T.s as a practice run and just choose subjects that you would wish to sit, or you can always take your owls during the month of August and still participate in your TBRs and the talks on the Twitter chats. So you would still have a magical readathon. You would just start from the owls and you can complete N.E.W.T.s in the later months, you know, on your own time. If you did sit your owls in April, please be aware that you are only allowed to take the N.E.W.T.s of the subjects that you passed on the O.W.L.s level. So for example, if you didn't take divination, you cannot sit divination N.E.W.T.s. So, and if you have passed your charms, then you can go ahead and sit your charms exams. Now, as the letter warned you, obviously as this is an extra level that's not even mandatory, it is quite a bit more challenging. That being said, you can totally just focus on a few things and not get overwhelmed. And if you are a reading machine, you can I suppose try and do them all, but all in this case would be significantly more than all the last time. So the way it works this time is that there are 3 prompts for each of the subjects, and that is equivalent to 3 pass grades. You only fail a subject if you are trying to complete the first prompt for that subject, run out of time, or do not finish it all the way through. But the pass grades are acceptable, exceeded expectations, and outstanding. So there are 3 prompts each per grade. So what this means is that you get to decide on how much effort you want to put into each subject and how well you want to pass it. As I said in the letter, basically to, well, win the readathon or complete the readathon, you would have to at least pass 2 subjects and achieve an outstanding in at least one of them, which means that the minimum really is 4 books. It will become clearer once I start reading the prompts. The maximum is 36 if anyone fancies that. I know I won't be doing that. So there's so many possibilities here. You can aim for 4 outstandings, you can do 2 outstandings, you can do 1 outstanding and then the rest of 11 acceptable, so you still pass all of them or you sit all of them. You get me. So let's just go by subject and read all of the prompts in short, and I'll add if there's anything to add. So there is a table of Hogwarts subjects and then grades and requirements. There's also a little explanation when it first mentioned a book, and it says, we use term book broadly. Any work that can be found and set to read on GoodReads is perfectly acceptable with the exception of the prompts where the page number is specified. So let's just go through these all. For ancient runes, to get an acceptable, you would need to read a book that is set to the past. To get an exceeded expectations, you would need to read a book that is ancient in your TBR. It's a book that maybe you've owned for years and you never really got to reading it, so it's still in your TBR, but it's one of the oldest ones, one of the most ancient ones on your shelves. To pass with an outstanding in ancient runes, you would have to read a book translated from another language. For arithmancy, to get an acceptable, the prompt is to read a book of at least 300 pages. To get exceeded expectations, a book that ends on an even numbered page. And outstanding, a book that's not a first in a series, so you know, second, third, fourth, or whichever, that's just not the first. For astronomy exam, to get an acceptable in that one, you need to pick a book with stars on the cover. To pass with exceeded expectations, you would need to read a book that has the word sky in the title. For an outstanding, you would be required to read a story that's set on a different planet or world. For care of magical creatures, to get an acceptable, you would need to read a book that features an animal on the cover. For exceeded expectations is book under 160 pages. And for an outstanding, you would need to find a read that includes dragons in any way, which means either it's on the cover, the word is in the title, or the book simply features dragons in one form or shape. To pass the charms exams with an acceptable, you would need to read a book with magic in it. To get an exceeded expectations, you'd need to read a book with a cover that charmed you, basically a book that would classify as a cover buy. Even if you didn't know anything about it, you would still buy it because it's so pretty. And if you don't do that type of thing, just the cover that you really love. For an outstanding in charms, you would need to read a book that you think will leave a mark. So you think it's gonna touch upon something important, maybe specifically to you, maybe overall, maybe has a lot of representation, for whatever reason that you think that it is gonna be important. As you can see, some of these prompts are really broad because it's already gonna be challenging and I wanted to make it specific but doable. It was my aim. For defense against the dark arts, for acceptable, you would need to read a last book in a series. For exceeded expectations, you'd be required to read a book with foiled cover, something that shines and deflects. Get it? Because deflecting things, defense. For an outstanding, you would need to read a book with the word dark in the title or series name. In the divination exam, to pass with acceptable, you would need to read a book that is set in the future. To pass with exceeded expectations, you would need to read a book under 200 pages. And to pass with outstanding, you would need to read a mythology book, purely about mythology, or a book inspired by mythology, it doesn't matter. But just something with mythology. For herbology, if you read a book with a green cover, that would get you an acceptable mark. Exceeded expectations would require you to read a book with illustrations. Comics do count in this one. Outstanding would require you to read a book with either one of these words in the title, and the words are light, air, sun, or water. History of magic, acceptable. Read a book that you think would fit right in at the Hogwarts library. This is externally. So for example, I think that like this style or just like blank with the spine like this would fit perfectly, but whatever your reasons, you know, just like a magical old-timey book. For exceeded expectation, the prompt is read a book published at least 5 years ago. For outstanding, a book that's at least 400 pages long, because it is history and let's be real, they all have super long reads. For Muggle studies, if you fancy sitting Muggle studies and getting an acceptable, read a book written by one of your favorite authors. For exceeded expectations, read a biography, and for outstanding, read a retelling. For potions, to get acceptable, you need to read a book that has a name of a color in the title. For exceeded expectations, read a book with a male lead character. For outstanding, read a book that has at least 350 pages. And lastly, for transfiguration, to get acceptable in transfiguration, you need to read a book with a grey cover. For exceeded expectations, read a book from an author you haven't read anything of before. And outstanding, read a book that's set in a kingdom or has royals. Whew. So those are all of the prompts. It really isn't that complicated when you think about it. It's just like you have a list and you have to fulfill that list. There's no skipping forward, there's no mixy-matchy things. You just go by what the list tells you and go as far as you want to within each subject. I would definitely recommend not overburdening yourself. I think the recommendation from Hogwarts is to choose 3 or 4 subjects that you want to focus on and then see which ones you want to prioritize and then try and get an outstanding in that, and then whatever time and ability allows to go for another ones. But 3 or 4 sounds like a reasonable amount for the N.E.W.T.s, because this is not OWLs, you know, this is more difficult, more specified. You want to learn more in a directed manner. I tried to make it, as I said, doable. So there are quite a few prompts for a word in the title, and that might seem like it's very hard, but if you go on GoodReads and you put that word in the search bar, it will give you a list of books with that word in the title. So that's why I included these specific prompts. Some of the prompts are obviously tailored for the subject, and some of them are a little bit themed around the professors that teach those. For care of magical creatures, I think that Hagrid's hobbies do not include reading, and he would be quite fond of shorter books. For charms, I think Flitwick would really appreciate powerful messages and, you know, wisdom and reads that really enrich you, so hence the story that would make a difference to you. I feel like N.E.W.T. levels are such a personal journey that I really wanted to give you guys a lot of freedom to decide on how well you pass what subjects, but it is the highest level of Hogwarts tests, so it had to be quite challenging. I have not set my TBR yet, but I know that I will try and get a few outstandings, but I will not get outstandings in everything because I want to cover a bit more ground, unless like I have an amazing reading month, and I do, but and there's gonna be definitely some subjects that I'm gonna be leaving behind, which I think is gonna be Ancient Runes for sure, because Ancient Runes was such a pain in the OWLs that I'm just like, I think maybe that's not for me. But yeah, I really hope that I explained this somewhat clearly. Just to clarify, there's no crossover, so you can't have a book that fits like 3 categories and count that for that. Every prompt requires a separate book, and that specific mark with a specific prompt is how it works. So you can read one book from Ancient Runes is actually for an outstanding, so book translated from another language, and get an acceptable for that. It's very strict at Hogwarts. You have to read what's there and what the prompt is asking for. The minimum to pass this readathon is 4 books. What books, how difficult, easy, long, short is completely up to you, unless obviously it said that it has to be like over 400, but if you think that you're not gonna make that, then don't choose that prompt, you know what I mean. And for those looking for a really good challenge, I feel like there's enough to get you going there. I think that covers it for that part. If I think of anything, obviously I will go into the Twitter account that we have. This is the handle for it. I will link the link in the description bar and in the comment that I'm gonna pin at the top here. This is a specific Twitter account for these readathons. I highly recommend that you join because there's such a beautiful community over there and people talk and help each other find books for specific prompts, and it's just very supportive and really, really magical. So I really recommend going on there as well and joining us there if you haven't already. The hashtag for this readathon is gonna be N.E.W.T.s Readathon 2018, very similar what we had for O.W.L.s Readathon 2018. We obviously including the year because it's gonna change. If I decide to go live on here or on Instagram to talk like midpoint or something for the readathon, I will definitely let you guys know on Twitter, so you have some sort of warning before I do that and you can join us. I hope you all share the TBRs. I try to retweet a lot of them on that account so people can just scroll and get ideas and see what other people are reading. I'm very, very excited for this one. I have not set my TBR. I know some people might think that, oh, I would be, you know, smart about it and when creating prompts make sure that I have a book that fits it, but no, I don't. I really just went for it. I just want it to be fitting and didn't want to be like cheating in any way. So I have not set a TBR. I don't know which subject specifically I'm gonna go for. I have a feel of what I'm gonna go for because obviously it's me, so I have a feel. But I haven't set that yet. But I'm very, very excited to make a video about that closer to the time, so also to remind people that this is happening. As I said, I will leave the digital copies of this down below for you guys to go ahead and check out. I believe that's everything. This has taken me way longer than expected. I'm sorry if this turned out to be a really long video. Please chat to me down in the comments. Let me know if you're excited, if you're joining. Please make sure to go ahead and join the community on Twitter. Even if you don't use Twitter, I never use Twitter. I just created this one specifically and I use that one, but I don't use my personal one at all. But Twitter is very good for these type of things and I think it's fun. Chat to me and with each other down in the comments and let the preparation for N.E.W.T.s begin. So let me just get the letter real quickly for you. Oh my god, you're supposed to...
What happened to the accurate thing?
I know I'm not gonna, like, I do this non-verbally. That's a N.E.W.T.s level spell. Right. Let me just get the letter real quick. So I'll cramp in the side, wait. So let me just get the letter real quick. That was sort of a catch.